Today we're going to look at constructing the adjusting arm. So we're going to get into that, and I've already laid out my title block with my border lines. And we're also going to look at how we sharpen our compass. Now, you should have a Bose compass or a bow compass, and your lead is going to be at an angle. So when you're sharpening it, you can either move it back and forth on a sheet of paper until you get a sharp point again, or you're going to hold it at an angle like this, and I'll hold it like this, right, at an angle like this, and then went flat, and then you're going to go back and forth. So I'll do it for you. And then you'll have a sharp angle again. All right, so that's how we sharpen the lead on our bow compass. Next, we're going to look at, we're going to look at finding the center of our drawing as we did before. I'm going to zoom up a bit. And we're going to get our diagonals as we've done before. So with that, we're going to use our rulers and our triangles. Again, you can use two rulers instead of a ruler and a triangle if that's what you have. Go from one angle, one corner to the next of the drawing area. Once we are at that point, I'm going to move this away and I'm going to draw my line. And I'm going to go turn it around and do the opposite side as well. Once we are lined up, move it, and then I'm going to do a short line for our X. Okay. I'll erase what I don't need for now. We just want the center point, so as small X as possible. We're going to use a sheet of paper, napkin, to just dust our paper ever so often. And I'm going to do my horizontal and vertical guides. So last class I showed you how you can do it. We can use the two triangles to find our guide. So I'm going to place this on my horizontal line on the title block. And then I'm going to place this on top of it. Right, so now my ruler is not quite touching, so I'm going to go at the bottom instead on the horizontal line. And I'm going to use this as like my T-square to move our triangles horizontally. I'll go as close as possible. And I'm going to draw a vertical line. And then I'll do it again for the horizontal line. I'm going to use my ruler this time, so you can use a triangle or you can use a ruler. I'm going to line it up with my vertical line, and then I'm going to use my ruler or my triangle, and I'm going to line it up with my center. As close as possible, and then we're going to do a horizontal line. Right, so those are our two lines. Now we're going to look at our drawing, and we're going to go into finding our overall width and height. So our overall width and height, our height is 4.5 for the height, but our width, they don't give us that specifically. So they have given us from center point to center point, it's going to be 7. And we also have an R. over here, which is radius. So this extent from the center to the tangent point is going to be 1 1/4. So our total height is, total width is 7 plus 1 1/4, which will give us 8 1/4. We're going to divide that by 2, which will give us 4 1/8. Height is our 4 1/2, and then when we divide it by 2, it's going to give us 2 1/4. Right? That's what we're working with. So on our guides that we have created, we're going to measure out horizontally 4 1/8 on both sides. So I'm going to measure out 4 1/8 on both sides. So my first line is going to be 4 1/8 on one side, and then our overall width should be 4 1/4, which I'll measure out on my right side. So 4 1/4 and 4 1/8. I'll put another guide here as well because we're following this that we have here. And then I'll do my height, which is 2 1/4. So I'll do 2 1/4 on both sides to give us 4 1/2 for our height. All we're doing right now is we're positioning our drawing in the center of the page. So now I can close off my box that I have done. So I can double check 4 1/8 on both sides. Right, so I can have a start and end point. So I'm going to start here and 8 1/4 this way. So we have one line. We'll go to the top. Make sure we're on our line. And now we're going to go up vertically as well, following our guides that we have here. So now this is the center of the drawing is centered on the page now. Now this vertical line we do not need anymore, and I would suggest that you erase it, because then you're going to get confused with where a center line is going to go, and this is going to be one of the confusing aspects of it. So I'm going to dust that off, and now we'll go into our drawing. So the first thing we do once we have all of that, we're going to look at the center lines, vertical center lines we need to put into it, or vertical guides. We can add the center lines after. So we have one here, which is the end of our drawing. 1, 2, 3. This is saying from this point to this point, we're going to go 7 inches across. So that's the first thing we'll do. So we'll go 7, then we'll go 2 and 2 1/2. That's what we have to read. So again, from the base or the center of it, or the middle I should say, I'm going to measure off 7. So 7 top and bottom. I'm going to draw a guide. So this is our 7 from the left. Then we're going to put in 2 from this guide, go back. So 2 units, 1, 2. 1, 2. And then our next guide is going to be 2.5 back this way from this center point. So we'll measure 2.5, go back. Okay, and that is where we are going to move forward. Now we've done that, we're going to go into the features that we have here. And I'm going to do the outer feature. So we're going to start with the radius of our circle. The radius is 1.25. So from our center, we're going to measure 1.25 out, which is the end of our drawing. And we're going to take our compass, right? So 1.25 on the vertical because we already have it on the horizontal. I'm going to measure 1.25 on both sides. And then I'm going to place my compass on the center. I'm going to open it up and make a mark on my guide. If it doesn't quite fit, I'm going to do it again until it actually touches the guide. And we're going to do it on both sides. Right, still a little too big. All right. So I'm going to make sure I do here as well. All right, so we're good. And I'm going to hold it at an angle and create it. So from one tangent point to the next, and then to the last tangent point. And you'll see that I'm holding it at an angle and I'm rotating it between my thumb and my forefinger. All right, that's our first feature. I'm going to make a horizontal line straight across here. We can also measure up 1.25 from the top, so that way we have our guide to where it actually stops. So 1.25 from the top, then 1.25 this way, and we can connect our tangent point to that new tangent point there as well. All right, so it's going to look like that. All right, and I'm going to erase. There's an extra line that's happening right there. I'll take my compass and I'll just go over that again really quickly. Right, our compass starts at the tangent and not past that. All right, now we're going to go with the construction of this area here. So we have this arc that's happening, it's 1R, which is 1 inch in radius, and we're going to do it on both sides. So from the top, I'm going to measure out, this is going to be 1 inch already. If we look at it, it's 1 inch. So we're going to make sure we have a guide or a point here that is 1 inch as well. And I'll do it on both sides. So from the outer point, that's what it's telling us our center is. From the outer point here, we're going to move this in so it lines up with our guide. And we'll make sure that it lines up with this guide. Seems to be a little further out. All right. And then I'm going to go here as well, outer point, and then make sure it lines up with, yep, it does. And that's that. I'm making erase because these are all the lines that I need to get to my right point. Come back here again just to make sure that I start at my tangent. Okay, now we're going to look at, we're going to construct this circle here, and then we're going to go into this feature here. So that circle is 1 1/4 in radius. So I'm going to measure 1 1/4 on both sides. With my compass, place it at the center, make a marking on both sides. Right, you can go in lightly with a construction line first and make sure that's what you want, and then I'm going to go over it until I get my desired. Remember, you can use your finger to hold the compass or the needle in place. All right, so we have that. This feature is going to be 1/2 inch from the edge, and the angle is going to be 45 degrees. So 1/2 inch from the edge, I'm going to measure off. Right, we're going to do that, and based off of that, we're going to draw our angle. So let me get my 45 degree. So my angle is going to go this way. So I'm going to line my ruler up, or you can use your second triangle. It's entirely up to you. And I'm going to use that to get my 45 degree angle. So just make sure and hold your ruler really still while you're moving it so it doesn't budge. And we're going to line it up as close as possible to the point. And I'm going to make a construction line. Once it's good, I'm going to go over it again, start and stop. We'll do it on this side as well. Again, I'm going to use my ruler. If you have space, because I do not have any at the top here, you can use your second triangle. I'm going to hold this in place, take my 45 degree triangle, and I'm going to shift it back until it lines up with my point. And then I'm going to make a construction line first. That's fine. And then I'm going to go over with an object line. So that's it. Now we're going to define the rest of our outline for our feature. Use my ruler. So we have our overall feature constructed. We're going to go in with the inner features now. I'm going to do the piece that's here first. Now the inner part, there it is 1 inch in height, which means if we look at it at the tangent points as well, it's also 1 inch in diameter. So our circle or a semicircle is going to be a radius of 1/2 inch or a diameter of 1 inch, and that's what we're going with. So from our 2 center lines, that's where we are starting our circle. So I'm going to measure off my guides of 1/2 inch on both sides. So I have my guides. I'm going to go in with my compass. Now the smaller the circle, the more tedious it is to construct it. The larger the circle, it is easier to construct. So I'm going to line it up with my guide. Both sides. All right. Make my circle as a construction line first. I'm going to go over it again using my finger to keep my needle in place. There is our circle. We're going to go to the second one. Since I'm already on 1 inch, I'm just going to try to make sure that it's lining up with my guides. Sometimes what happens is our needle is placed slightly off. So just double check that if it does not line up. And now I'm going to connect my tangent points. So from one tangent point on the left, I'm going to go back to the right, or vice versa. Right, and then I'm going to do it again at the top. I'm going to go down with a construction line first. Then I'm going to go in with a object line. Last piece is our circle. The diameter, DIA is diameter. What that means, DIA means diameter. It is 1.5, so which means our radius is going to be 3/4 of an inch. So we're going to make guides of 3/4 of an inch on our vertical. You can do it on the horizontal as well, as an option. Or I should say you can start on the horizontal. There's no steadfast way of drawing it. It's all based on what you're comfortable with. Now I'm going to place it here again. We used this to make this wider arc before, and so there you should have a hole from where your needle was there before, and I'm testing my guides to make sure it's about the same, right? And I'm going to go around. I've done it as a construction line. I'm going to go again. I may do it one more time just to make sure my line is consistently dark. But make sure your needle does not jump out of the spot that it is in. Now we're done with, and I feel like there is some kind of double line happening here. Right, so now we have so now we have, this is completed. We're going to add our center lines. And what we're going to do is we're using the same 1/8 and 1/16 for space. Let's go zoom up a bit. So I'm going to start at 1/8 for the center of my circle. 1/8 and 1/16 space. I'll do it here as well, and then I'm going to connect the long line. So it doesn't have any specific length we're using to it right now, but because they're going to overlap, if we used a certain length, we're just not going to put a specific length to the long line. So I'm going to do my short line. I'll do a short line here as well. I feel like I'm too far away. Right, short line, space, and then I'm going to connect from here and from here. So that's our first center line. And I'm going to go out this way. So I have my short line in here as usual, and then I'm going to come out. Now I'm going to pass a tangent point. I'm going to pass a tangent point. Once I get to this point, I'm going to only extend it to 1/4 inch. Right? Center lines extend to 1/4 inch past an object line or a tangent point, and this is a tangent point. So that's our line. Now we'll finish up this as well. All right, so from our center point here again, we're going to go 1/8, and I'm going to connect my I'm going to connect my long line. I'll do it here again. So we have a space. Now I'm going to go all the way here, and I'm going to stop just before my center point is here. I'll do my 1/8. And I'm also going to extend this 1/4 inch. All right. Now we're going to do it vertically. I'll start with this one. So again, we're starting from the center, short line, short line. So it's 1/16 on both sides to give you the 1/8. Then space and long line. Tangent point, extend 1/4 inch. Stop. This side, we go out this way, we go cross tangent, tangent, extend 1/4 inch. Stop. We're going to do this one. Right? Start again, 1/8 inch, 1/16 on both sides, 1/16 space. We're going to come here, tangent point, 1/4 inch. Now the reason I did that is because there is no tangent point here, so it's not going to be identifying anything. So we'll go here again, tangent point, 1/4 inch. I'll do it here again. So 1/8 inch vertically on our center point. Space, we go past tangent point. This is a tangent point, but we're going to go all the way to where our center starts. We'll put in our 1/8 inch. And I'm also going to put 1/4 inch. Now I'm going to go this way, go across, tangent point, we're going to go to our center, we're going to stop, and then we're going to make 1/8 of an inch, and we're also going to make 1/4 of an inch. So that's what it should look like. Right, I'm going to go here. I'm going to place in my 1/8 of an inch because this is a center point, and this is giving us a position of where our center point is to give us our radius. So we'll start with 1/8 of an inch, and then I'm going to go right back until 1/16 of an inch. So it stops just before. The reason why we're stopping it before is because if we continue, it's going to look like another type of line, like an object line. We'll go here again. Eighth of an inch. And then we're going to go until we stop. And that should be what you have. So 1/8 of an inch. Sorry, 1/16 of an inch, not 1/8. All right, and then we have the last piece here. We'll do the same thing we did here as well. Because if we have a straight line going across here, it's going to look like an object line. So that's why, that's one of the reasons we are not doing what we will do for the other ones. Okay, so 1/8 of an inch. We go across. Then I'm going to 1/16 space, and I'm going to go and stop 1/16. Same thing here again. We have our space, right? And that is my drawing. So let me zoom out. And that is what the drawing is going to look like. I'm then going to go in and I'm going to erase. If my construction lines are dark, I need to erase them, right? So I'm going to go over it really quickly and erase what is not needed. Oh, we actually do need 1/4 of an inch here as well. So I'm going to go here and just add 1/4 of an inch since we have it on the other side of it. 1/4 of an inch. I believe that looks like 1/4 of an inch. Yes. And we'll do it on this side as well. And we'll add in 1/4 of an inch. And that is our completed drawing. So I hope this helps, guys, for your next exercise and for the completion of this one. Right? Don't forget to use a tissue and dust off any remaining residue. Until again,